5 o'clock. I was kind of hoping that Jared would get here. I got a lot of slides to work through, a lot of pictures I want to show you as we work through this. I'd just like to offer a quick word of prayer, and we'll begin this work session. It's going to be a busy night tonight for all of us, department heads. If you would bow and pray with me. Father God, thank you for this beautiful first day of spring. I believe it was at 5 o'clock or something like that. Had 27 degrees last night, but we needed that to kill the bugs, and thank you for that. Finally, verse for the day, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And his might is what's brought Brandon to the place it's at now, and we'll continue to pray for his will for our city and each one of us individually. In the blessed name of Jesus we pray. Amen. All right, board. So we got one more screen up there for Mr. Baker, so he doesn't have to squint to see this one down here. You know, I try to tell him, Harry, that's the reason why he couldn't hit a duck. He couldn't see the screen. But anyway, so. All right, so get ready. A lot of these are going to come at you quick, and we'll breeze on through. That was what we put out on the work session notice: Eastgate Thorngate improvement recommendations, Grants Ferry Road improvements, Pecan Ridge and Value Road, and Old Town, Collier Crossing, and Cornerstone stormwater issues. You're going to have a lot of slides in here, pictures that were taken earlier from Cornerstone. The purpose of some of that sharing, and I wish Jared was here, so I'm glad Jared's running a little bit late because I need him to see the Cornerstone stuff, and David to catch y'all up on some of this stuff that's been lingering for a while. Review the work session last time. Chris, there he goes. I was dragging, waiting on you. Good deal. Glad you made it. So Sam's here now. Look, he asked, I don't know if you set those up, but would ask each one of you to spend some time in conversation with Sam as to what you think his expectations are. So he's going to be calling you if he hasn't already, or emailing you, trying to set up one-on-one conversation with you so that he can best ascertain the push points that we need to work on. I've already cautioned him that there's an array of things that need to get done, and if you're not careful, it's going to overwhelm you. So we need to focus on what the priorities are for the board and myself and the community, and move from there. Shiloh Park, we clean up. I hadn't been out to see Shiloh, but I know Quarry Park, I was out there Saturday and Sunday. We had some of our MagCorps employees working. I was visiting with Jennifer, and they did an outstanding job, so I think that's going to work well for us. Home Builders Association, we'll discuss more of that in executive session. Red Mountain Entertainment, progress status report, EV charging station status report, and Jubilee. So for the work session, I'll have either Carly or Carly here for every meeting here on out till we get past that. Amphitheater, I want to give you a little update on that. That was the box seats. We discussed pricing last time about doing $50,000 for the whole thing. That would be 30 seats up there, 3 different levels. The recommendation from Red Mountain was to divide that up into 3 separate boxes and market that as $25,000 a piece, which would be $150,000 for those spaces. Again, 2 tables, 5 parking passes and wristbands. And Jim said about doing that. So for you, I label these, and for the box office, N1, 2, and 3, N1 being the lowest on the CBC side, S1, 2, 3 being on the south side of the amphitheater on gate 1. And if you think about it, those that do Uber rides and things like that, that'd be real easy to come out of gate A and get in an Uber and you're gone. So marketing those, it took about 2 days, and Jim was successful. They're all sold. So that's who has those boxes. So Ergon, Capital City, Thomas Harris, Josh Smith, Jonathan Hollingshead, and Randy Vaughn have all stepped up those. So there you go. So we don't have any more boxes now. Do we have some more in the skybox? We'll get to that once we get the furniture in and get it in place and make sure everything's good to go up there. There might be a couple of openings. Other than that, we're 100% of occupancy on the lower boxes, and the new 6 boxes, call them party boxes, just call them boxes, but they're really good. So that went well. Already booked for the year. EV charging stations, mentioned to you last time, just became problematic, thinking of Taco Bell down here because Energy technically would be selling electricity, just doesn't work for 16th Section District. Looked at downtown. I did call my contact, Tyson Reno, I believe, and we met downtown Brandon, And I'm recommending, and he liked the idea because that is city property where those 2 cars are. Take 2 car spaces, cannibalize those for charging locations, so we can come off that telephone pole there at the corner of Poindexter and Dining. That's within 1 mile of the interstate. It should fit the grant requirements that MDOT and Energy both have. So Eastgate, Thorngate, I'm sure you wonder what that's about. Now, this is for David, you in particular. I don't know if Sharon, you remember this, and Jared, if you remember the condition of the storm drains. Now, this is not, I'm not talking about storm drains, but I did put some pictures in here just to describe to you what those galvanized culverts are all over, primarily, not just Cornerstone, not just Crossgates, excuse me, all over the city, but they're rusted out. You get into a problem, there's a multitude of them, and it will be one of the next infrastructure studies that we do after we've come out of water and begin to get our grasp on sewer. Next will be stormwater and drainage systems all over the city. So that's just a condition of some. If you wonder where those pictures took from, they opened the manholes, and I laid down in most of those and took most of those pictures 2 years ago. Primarily on Eastgate and Thorngate, though, what I'd like to ask you, we're going to put a project together and put it out for bid. If you're acceptable to that, we will find the funding this year, or it will be a project that we do next year. One of the two. If we can afford it this year, we'd like to go ahead and do that. Those handrails you see on there that are 4x4s and old lumber are kind of falling into disrepair. We believe that it would look a lot better if we improve those on Thorngate and Eastgate with something that resembles the top of the bridge on Highway 80, close to Metal Lane, if you would, a metal structure. It'd look a lot better. Be a simple improvement. I don't know how costly it would be until we bid it out. So my intentions are to have that on the next agenda, to ask for you to allow me to bid that out to replace those rails on there. And we'll see just how much it costs. Grants Ferry Road improvements. To take you back in time, I know it's a little awkward, but those of us who have been on the board for a while, the red Phase B was built. We had to build Phase C1 and C2, two different phases. C1 being the last one that connected those two on both sides of Cornerstone. And there's a problem that has been made apparent that I don't know how to describe to you as to how it wound up this way, but it's something that we need to fix. So in Phase B, which runs from Trickham Bridge to Cornerstone, there are 3 turn lanes built in there for a right or left-hand turn as that property is developed. Does that make sense? That exists that way. There are 3 of those, 1, 2, and 3. Scattered through that. The problem, which is good, that's forward thinking. The problem with that is when we get to Phase C2 where we have the cars, there is no turn lane at those 2 red dots. So I would propose to you that we need to build turn lanes there. I don't know how it was overlooked, but it was, and we need to fix it. So I don't know if we can fix it this year. Need to look at it, and certainly it needs to be a project right after the first of the year so that we put those turn lanes in there. If you think about just Cornerstone, now you've got Phase 10 and Part 10 and Part 11. Part 9 is the red dot at the bottom. By the time you get the next 2 parts built, you're going to have probably close to, might even be 500 homes in there. So if you say 500 homes times 2 vehicles, that's 1,000 vehicles going in and out of there and up and down that road. Not counting the rest of the development's going to be out there. So we need turn lanes at those locations, especially where I'm sure at some point in time, and y'all know Ben Luther here, at some point, and hey Jeremy, at some point in time there are going to be gates there, so we'll need turn lanes there, and we don't need to wait until the gates are installed until. So we need to be proactive in making turn lanes there that look like that, so that you can get out of a moving lane of traffic, to slow down in the right if you're turning into the right, or to wait to turn into the left. Don't know how that was missed. Pardon me? Yes, sir. We had a ribbon cutting out there last. Yes, sir. Well, you don't want to look at it and see what it might cost. Next year's, if you wait till the next construction year, you're getting out there to probably next June or July. But I'm good. Y'all just think about it, Okay? Shouldn't be that expensive, but one way to find out, and that's to bid it. Pecan Ridge Value Road entrance. Finally, for those of you who've traveled in and out of that entrance, whether you're visiting family or friends and coming out of there, what you shaking your head for, Jerry? You know, you're taking your life in your hands sometimes. That's a freeway almost coming down. Value Road is on the step to connect 471. You get Spears Crossing, Ambiance, and Cornerstone that travel that, as well as a lot of people on Luckney Road travel that road. You're taking your life in your hands when you go in there. So we're making improvements there. That's the old fence that was there. This is while it was under construction. And the project is, in my opinion, 75% done. It's got 25% more, and I'm going to describe that to you. You see the fence on this side is gone. The fence on the other side is not. I don't know how that was overlooked, but both of those fences need to go away, and we need to get back to what is our right-of-way. So those fences and the entrance were built on city right-of-way, I guess, back in the early 80s. And nobody really had an idea about, I guess, where it was, and they just built it where they wanted to build it. So it's on our right-of-way. So it's somewhat of a disparaging thing to tell a homeowner to move your fence back on your property when it was allowed to be built on city property to begin with. So we've rebuilt it. These are some new pictures. I'd ask you to go by and look at it. Ambiance did that work for us, moved it back, so it's a lot safer intersection in and out. And we need to take the fence down on the other side. If you look at this and look at the posts that are here from the left side of that screen, my assessment is between 2 and 3, the post number 2 and 3 coming from the left, somewhere in that range, 8-10 feet is where the actual right-of-way is at. And we'll get Matthew Miller to tell us exactly where that's at. Okay? So I'm thinking that fence needs to come down, improve your line of sight going over that hill. So that work to me is 75% done, and we'll be coming back probably no more than getting a PO to take that fence down and put another fence up. But you get into these things, and Mr. Baker, I'm sure, is going to raise a flag to say, well, you're putting that back on somebody else's property. Well, it's somebody else's fence, but we're going to take it down. I just don't think it's right for us to take down a fence that a homeowner put up and not put a fence back up. So I think we need to make it right, like a lot of other things we get to, and we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. So that was one of 3 that were in the budget last year. We carried them forward this year in the budget. One is just about, yes, ma'am.
I have a question. You said that it's about 75% completed. What else besides taking that fence down?
That's about it.
That's it?
That's about it.
What other costs are going to be incurred?
Taking down that fence, going over that hill, and putting the fence back up.
That's not included in that 80-something thousand, 81?
No.
It's not?
No. So again, let me ask a question here. Is it the homeowner association of Pecan Ridge, is it their fault that infrastructure was built on city right-of-way, or is it the city's fault that it was allowed to be built on city right-of-way, making for a bad intersection? Pardon me? Well, the point is it's an expensive fix, but it's not, you know, I put blame on the city. I don't put blame on the homeowner association or the builder. You know, you're not watching the hen house when these things are done, and you're fixing to see some more of these. And just like what I went through on Cornerstone, somebody wasn't paying attention, taking care of what they need to take care of. So. Okay, well then we'll take it down, and you know, whatever, but the fence needs to come down. It's on city right away. Whoever developed Pecan Ridge back in the 80s. No, HOA didn't do it. No, it'd be one of those homeowners there, if they even lived in that home back in the 80s. Okay? So mull over that, please. All right. So a lot safer intersection. Next will be 2 and 3. We'll take 2 next. I believe that some of 2, which is going into Eastgate, is on, help me out, somebody. Mr. Miller is not here yet. I believe that's on some of Mike Akers' property, could be. We need to look at that, but we need to study it, get all the survey work done, and improve the entrance into Eastgate. Right behind that would be the same thing for Stonegate, so that we've got a consistent look all the way through town. I think that's critical and important. Old Town, Collier Crossing, and Cornerstone stormwater issues. Okay, trying to watch my time. Good, 5:20. All right, I'm going to take you back in time. You can do the same thing I'm doing here on Google Earth. If you'd like to get on Google Earth Pro, it's free. You can download it and look at it anytime you'd like. This is down Busick Well Road. You see December 2015, Busick Well Road was built, and some of those houses aren't there at the bottom of Mineral Springs, but it went belly up. There is a stormwater problem in Old Town, which is the last subdivision on the left going down Busick Well Road. You look in September 2022, you see construction going on. Several things happen comparing those two pictures. One, the city came forward with a plan to help a developer build the rest of Hastings out. That plan was approved by the board. We added, I believe it was $4,000 per house permit in there to compile enough money to where we could put the final wear surface on those streets. So we did that. And then, of course, of the subdivisions coming, and the third one down there is Collier Crossing. The problem we have in Old Town is that they catch stormwater from Raintree and part of Hastings. And there's infrastructure there that was never completed, which is a concrete flume. That concrete flume takes all the stormwater, half of it comes down Busick Well Road, all of it comes out of Raintree and goes through the Old Town subdivision. We've needed a concrete flume to go all the way. You can see the tip of that arrow is concrete from there back to the top, and it's just dirt from there to the bottom. So therefore, you get a wet delta there every year. Grass grows up. You can't hardly mow it because it just stays rotten muck and mush out there. And I think we need to fix it. So that stormwater coming off all the streets in Raintree, and I say that's city water coming through there in that regard, and I think we have a responsibility to finish that concrete flume all the way out to the bottom. Just under that arrow is where it goes under the street and goes out into the woods. Collier Crossing. So we got a call last week from Martin Kyle, and he says that he's getting more water on his property than he's ever gotten before. Kind of a blend. So now you're going to be playing with storm water the rest of this conversation. And we tried to explain that. Still looking for Matthew Miller, who said he was going to be here. So I'll handle it without him. So that is known as Collier Crossing, all right? Entrance into and out of, single entrance off of College Street. Can't remember the dates that we approved this preliminary plat. So the blue that you see there is the Kyle house, and he says he's getting a lot more water now than he was in the past. Well, a lot of the trees have been cleared. Collier Crossing is going to be a two-phase development, phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is on the west side of that ditch. Phase 2 is on the east side of that ditch. It does make sense that there's more water coming there if you took all those trees down. So all the way up to Hastings. That's where you see at the very top of that screen is Hastings subdivision, which is, I'm not sure if is there, Charles? I don't remember an empty lot in there. Is it totally built out yet? Or there might be a lot or two left in there? No? Hastings? Maybe one or two lots? On up to the north? No, I'm sorry, that's not Hastings. Yeah. Okay, that's Longleaf to the north, not Hastings. Okay? All right. So if you look at from 2020, November of 2020 to September of 2022, basically 2 years, you see all the trees were taken down and hauled out. The blue square again is the Kyle house, and that would explain why he's seeing a lot more, especially in a wet year, why you're seeing more rain around your house. So just so happened, when we were having this conversation, we had Sam and Charles and Matthew Miller sitting at the table, and we all discussed this. We got out the elevations and looked at this. So this is phase 1 that you see on your screen. So again, before this is built, every bit of the water on the very top of that screen is coming straight downhill. So Mr. Miller's, which Benchmark did the engineering on this, you have a stormwater retention pond that carries all that water with the long blue arrows at the top all the way over to the stormwater retention pond. Only the water that hits on those houses, on that stretch, 4 or 5 houses, comes toward that. So you're delineating what stormwater is going where. So that, I believe, listening to the engineer, that that problem that Mr. Kyle has is going to be much diminished. It's the only way I can explain it. I can get Matthew here when we get into the board meeting, and he can speak to that more if you'd like further details. Is that making any sense, Chris? Does that make any sense, looking at that? Well, that's 4 or 5 houses and 4 or 5 yards. So all of that above that, which is still coming to the south toward Martin's house, will be going the other way. So it's about the only way I can explain it, as I look at it. Okay. All right, Cornerstone. So I've been walking Cornerstone since there were less than 30 houses there, looking around. That's East Deer Ridge, and I kind of want to do this. I'm glad Jeremy's here, and I'm glad that Ben's back there. So really, this is for David, Dwight, Sharon, and Jared as I go through this probably more lengthy history lesson than Mark, Lou, Harry, and Chris want to listen to. They might pick up something extra in here. So you go back to May of 2004. There's no public streets, no lake, no entrances, no clubhouse, no playground, no tennis, no stormwater, and just a few houses beginning to be built. I believe that property, I could be wrong, was annexed in 1996. Shortly after that, it was purchased by R&S Developers. And Ronnie Gardner had to have city water and sewer. It just wasn't a viable property at that point in time. So we got water and sewer. Water came off a 10-inch main off of 471 by the Dollar General store. Sewer comes back that way. One way in and one way out with water and sewer. Go forward to March of 2006. You can see the clubhouse being built. The gates are being installed. Stormwater ponds have been constructed over that period of time. And there are approximately 108 homes in there. So things were really rocking and rolling. Good stuff. You go forward again, being careful to look at the stormwater retention ponds, and you see these islands everywhere out there. You see shallow places, meaning that there was siltation coming into those bodies of water in a variety of different places. I do have a map of stormwater inlets coming in, and I'll show you that in just a minute in here. And I can be glad to print any of this and give it to you. So this was early on when there was construction was diminishing on one side of those bodies of water, but was still rampant on the other side of those bodies of water. Stormwater retention pond. So again, here you'll be able to see the tennis courts. Development was on the north side up there. Still just a few houses there. 274 homes by my count. Again, I'm just counting rooftops as I go through this. See the water beginning to clear up a little bit. And another thing that happened was if you zero in on these 4 places, you can still see islands there. So this has been an ongoing problem. And my purpose in showing you all this is to say that it didn't just happen yesterday. It's going to continue to happen unless it's controlled at the source of entry. And I've got pictures of that, which I'm going to show you in just a minute, where we've got some problems we're going to have to talk through. 2010, stormwater ponds, 320 homes. You begin to see a few houses pop up on the other side of the lakes. Still got some empty lots in there. The property continues to be developed. Stormwater ponds, again, you're seeing islands and a lot of infiltration coming in. It's coming off of nothing else than cleared places where lots are being built and where dirt is being mined to build house pads. Actually, the one at the bottom, the Kennedys were living on the corner there, and I remember them having a mud street, and they couldn't even get in the carport without tracking mud, and it was horrible. And that was coming from what I call the Hilltop Painted Acre side. It wasn't coming from the other side. Big problem. Let's see here. All right, so what am I trying to show you here? This is November 2011. You see one's beginning to clear. Again, everything kind of died after '08. There wasn't a lot of development going on, not a lot of new house pads and that kind of thing. March 17, all of a sudden began to wake back up, begin to fill in these streets that aren't finished out. Another thing that happened in 17, when we worked with the homeowner association. In fact, we had trouble finding this today in the minutes, but the homeowner association actually had to take over the streets from R&S Development because they had enough properties involved there to where they could take over, and then we converted those. They wanted to convert those to public streets because the streets needed resurfacing. So that was the only way to do that. They were private streets up until that point. We had problems with police officers going in and out, fire department going in and out, code enforcement, and all those kind of things just were problematic because that was a private neighborhood. So we took over those streets and worked with Ronnie Garner. He cut down all that timber on part 9 and 10, and that's what the money he used to put in with the bonds to repay those streets. So part 10 out here is what you see that is dirt now. And I've got another picture in here where the streets exist. Again, the same problems begin to exist again. And as we move to November of 2021, if you look really deep into that little circle, there's an island there behind the McGee's house that is almost as wide as this room. The homeowner association spent quite a sum of money doing bottom analysis. They actually dredged a lot of this out, took a lot of it out. I believe the contract says that they removed and or dispersed down to some depth, and a lot of that was cleaned out of both of those ponds with the hope and prayer that it wouldn't come back. Well, it's coming back, and that's the reason why we want to make you all informed of this. Don't know what the answer is going to be yet, but they're looking for help in whatever answer is going to come. And we're going to have to figure out a way to find some path through this. So part 10, so this is September 22. So going back and forth between those two pictures, November 2021, and now part 10 of September 2022, the island is almost gone in that little circle, but it's slowly beginning to come back. You can look, and I've got some aerials I'm going to show you where we put a drone up in the air today in just a minute to follow up with this, and you can see. So if you look at part 10, you see there is no asphalt over here on the right in a new section where those new lots are going to be. 1 year later, we've got paved streets in there, and they're wanting to start building houses like yesterday, right? Okay? So we have a problem. So we're beginning to see sedimentation come in, and how's it getting in there? So it's outrun the curtains that were installed, and I don't know how to explain that other than the pictures I'm going to show you. As far as future development on the south side of Grants Ferry Road, part 9 has been built. There's a stormwater retention pond to the right of it over there. Some of that came toward the lake. There is part 10 where all the streets have been built, and now they're wanting to get started on part 11. So you got 9, 10, and 11. 10 has houses going up right now. My belief, probably by the end of this year, most of those lots are going to have a house on it with people living in them. That's just how fast things are happening. And we encourage you to ride out there and ride by it and look. It's moving quickly. That is the preliminary plat for 11, which is 40 more lots. That is on the hilltop where it's all trees right now. So between where it's all trees and you start taking all those trees down, doing all that soil disturbance, that in part 10, we're going to have a significant erosion and sediment problem headed toward those ponds again, which is a source of concern for the people that live there and us. I hope you take some ownership into it just as well as I do. So storm drains, you can stare at that for just a few minutes. It might be better if I print this for you at some point in time and give you an 11 by 17 of this. Each one of those little yellow lines is a storm drain that comes off of streets, and you can count what goes into that lake. So looking at the lake to your right or on the bottom, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 storm drains that go into that body of water, storm drain. On the other one, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think. So all those are subject to sedimentation coming in, grass clippings, variety of things. So this is a problem that's not only from 9, 10, and 11, but it's also a problem, I didn't highlight that in here, but it's also a problem to the south of the whole development, what was known as Hilltop Painted Acres. You've got some homeowners down there who have a lot of sedimentation coming up against the back of their fence. Case in point, things that we discover as you go forward in time. This is a small place that I know old zoning was RB2, I believe. Mark, you might remember some of that old zoning. It's very similar. This was allowed to be built, the city allowed Ronnie to build this, and it is similar to the terraces on Eastgate. Note the close lot lines. So there are, I think there's 1 or 2 1,600 square foot homes in here. Most would be between 17 and 18. But, you know, some folks want that type of development. So I was called to Butch Bates, B-A-T-E-S, Ben? Anyway. Yeah, well, I went to his house. So this center spot that you see here, he's got a drain in the back of his problem. This is something that Charles and I have talked about repeatedly. Storm drain engine. So historically, the city has looked at issues like this and said, well, that's in your backyard. That's your problem. And, you know, I tend to say, well, that is your problem if it's your storm drain. If it's our storm drain, then it's our problem. So we've got a problem. This is another issue we're going to have to deal with at this particular location. I don't believe this issue is that expensive to fix. The other 3 circles you see in front of you are street storm drains. So how do they all tie together? They all tie together into one. And somebody did some changing. I don't know if, again, Dwight, if this was a homeowner making these changes or not, but that fence that you see there was installed between November 2011 and December 2012. There wasn't a fence there, and somebody monkeyed with it and changed what's over that drain that's in that backyard, which constantly gets stopped up, which is eroding away and needs some help. So if you look at the picture here, you see the yellow lines. Don't look under the stars. That was somebody's business that they had years ago, is what shows up on Google Earth. You see Vintage Point to the bottom, and you see Eternal Court to the top. And those are stormwater drainage systems that are all tied together to get water to the stormwater retention ponds. So we've got a problem at that picture on the right with a drain in the back, and we're going to have to go fix it like we've done 1 or 2 or 3 others in there that we're just left to, you know, I guess a developer and a house builder would build it unbeknownst to us, unbeknownst to you in the city, and the next thing you know, you own infrastructure that you didn't even know was there. All right, questions. We got questions about Cornerstone. Ben, would you or Jeremy like to say something to the board?
I'm sorry, Jeremy King. Part of the all of this drainage issues kind of right behind my house on that south side, and not a whole lot of that was discussed, but it's pretty bad back there. I think for the most part it's been fixed in the last year or 2. The reason I say that is I was on the board. I think that happened before I was even on the board, the HOA board out there. But officially paperwork, something like that, maybe the dates were different than I remember. As far as the islands, I mean, people bought expecting to have a lake behind their house, and all of a sudden now it's filled up where you could walk across it. So we did spend a large sum of money, about $127,000, trying to have most of that removed, or some of it was dispersed. And yeah, it's slowly coming back. I say slowly, it's been a year and a half, 2 years maybe, something like that, and it's coming back right back. I would I mean, I'm no engineer. I would personally attribute it to the parkway being built, as we have plenty of pictures and videos of stormwater runoff, things like that, that were dumping straight into the pipes, and then you follow those pipes right to the outlet. There it is. But also, yeah, I think as the mayor's explained it to some degree, just from the clear cutting and then that stuff running in as well. So it's coming back. Of course, we get a lot of heat for that. What are we going to do about it? We do everything that we can for you as a HOA, but we are just another neighbor of the HOA. We try to do what we can, but there's a limited amount of what we can do without raising our dues sky high to try to do it all again. So we just want help, whatever help that we can get in order to either first mitigate the problems, and then I guess we'll go from there. We just need to stop it from coming in if we can. That sound fair?
I was out there Saturday. I met with Ben and Jack, and we rode around, we walked around, I took pictures. One of the things that I see that, and I've actually called Sam about it this afternoon, is who's the actual home builder? I know who the developer is, but who's actually building the homes?
That's a variety of people that
Okay,
build.
variety
a lot
of
of those
people.
out there. And
Okay.
what happens sometimes, you get caught in the crossfires of the house builder says, well, I'm responsible for this. I'm not responsible for that. And the developer says, well, I've sold those lots to them. He's responsible for all that. And then they're both pointing the finger at bad city, It's all the city's fault, what we hadn't done.
I understand.
And then the city, if you're not careful, we try to drag DEQ into it, which should take a predominant role, but doesn't most time.
One of
So-
the things, the big thing I noticed with the silt fences, it's ridiculous. They've been like that. There's been no attempt to try to fix it, whether it's the developer, the home builder, that's responsible for that. And I do understand that part of it, because I had the same thing happen to me across from where I live, which I live on Busick Well, which is across from Longleaf and the Hastings and all that. And while they're developing that, I had the same exact thing. And I had those silt fences. And I had to call the city. Before I was elected, I had to call the city to find out who it was developing it, who was building it, so that I could get in touch with them to hold them accountable. And I think there should be a way that we need to hold them accountable, because at least if we can stop or at least slow down some of that, I think it would help out. And we need to do it now, if we can. And I'm looking at you, Jeremy, just because you're standing there, not intending
it's
for
fine.
you to get out there and do it.
Yeah. Well, I have.
Get out there, Jeremy. Sam, there's got to be some way that we can hold these people accountable. Mark?
We have really good stormwater ordinances. Sam and I have talked about it today. We can send
Okay.
the builders and the developers notice wherever we see that this is happening, Martin Kyle's property, Cornerstone, wherever.
Yeah.
And send them a notice and say, you can't do this,
This is getting to be a,
and you're subject to fines.
with
city
all of it,
court.
and I hate to say it, but it seems like every meeting, we're talking about stormwater and retention ponds. And I think we need to, and like I said, I know I haven't been on the board that long, but just for everything I'm hearing, maybe we need to be, gosh, we're already the big bad city. Let's just take it one step further. And let's just, tell these people, hey, you want to keep building here? Because they're making money in Brandon by building here and by developing here. And, look, we need some help from y'all, and you've got to hold up your end of the deal. And so sending out, holding them accountable with these ordinances.
All right. So Sam's hit the ground running. I put this back to come back to something I wanted to speak to earlier. So I know that's what happens when you give out handouts. While somebody's talking, everybody's going to start reading the handout. Anyway. So another element, when I went back in time, Chris, if you remember, you and Harry and Lou and Mark, I don't know if Mark will remember this or not, but we also continued the conversation, because I've been at two sets of homes, two pairs of homes, if you would, in Cornerstone and others in the city, where you get one rooftop that's putting water on the neighbor right beside him. And then the city is drug into, well, how did you let this house get built that's flooding my backyard? Any of y'all, does that sound familiar to any of you? Okay, now, I want you to bear in mind, one of the things the city of Brandon's never done is enforced a pad. In other words, what the elevation of the pad to protect the property owners on both sides of it. We had an incident in Cornerstone where a gentleman bought a lot. Next thing you know, it's almost going in a new house. It's almost going in the back door. And we had to work through that. And fortunately, we had somebody that helped us on the road that helped lower that road 4 feet to divert that water the other way. But we need, in our ordinance, and Sam and I've talked about this, and Charles as well, we need to have in there an elevation of pad and an elevation of the slab so that we know, so if you aren't cutting it off, you know what the elevation of that house is going to be, and it ought to be part of those plans that are approved by the board. It's going to cost a little bit more, but it needs to be done. And we've discussed it in the past, and I think we got the guy here that's going to help us get there. Thoughts? You got to come up here and talk. You got to tell
Ben's-
Mr. Baker who you are, because there are minutes kept, so
While Ben's walking
they don't know
up
you,
here,
Ben.
I agree that we should be taking some more of these preventative, because I think it would save us a lot in the long run of costing the city. I don't know. I'm just saying that, and I know it's tough because we've been without community development. But in talking with Sam today, I think he's fully committed to doing that, and he's ready.
Ben, what you got?
Oh, Mayor, you did a great job of putting this together, and I appreciate that. You know, I can tell you spent a lot of time on it, and I appreciate you having us here tonight. You know, and the statement that you made was that, you know, we needed some help, which is an accurate statement. In your mind, what does that mean? What does the help look like? Where does the help come from? How do we?
The board will carry this discussion further in executive session.
Okay.
So just not at liberty to speak on those things now.
The last time, we brought all the parties to the table, and y'all worked out and got an agreement worked out, and Terry Thornton came in, and y'all had a very specific scope of work that was done, and all of that was done. And so the city got involved and would have stayed involved in that, but Cornerstone asked us to kind of step back from that. And
Well, the idea that, go ahead, Jeremy.
But in any event, that's an example of what happened last time, which was you had an issue with RNS developers. RNS was getting ready to sell out to Thornton Construction. We had Phase 12, which we were able to hold as a condition to get things done. And I remember, Mayor, we were on lots of meetings about that, and it was a very extensive written agreement as to what would be done, how it would be done, and my understanding is all that got done. Now, it sounds like there's more happening now.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I would love a scenario where we never had to have these conversations again.
No, I understand
You know,
completely.
and that
but-
would be the ultimate dream here. So I wish we weren't continuing to have these conversations. But yes, you are correct. We negotiated through all this a couple of years ago, had multiple conversations, had multiple meetings. You know, the proposal that the city kind of came up with was for Terry to drain the lakes and then to remove the siltation from the lakes. The issue that we had and the issue that our council had was that, you know, we would then be responsible for the 15, 20-year-old seawalls that were in those lakes that were most likely constructed incorrectly from the very beginning. If those were to fail, we have a $150,000 a year budget in the HOA. It doesn't take many $35,000, $40,000 seawall failures for us to no longer have an HOA. So that was the issue that we had kind of with the city's proposal is, you know, we felt like that we needed to go a different route.
That's fine. It wasn't the city's proposal.
Thornton's proposal, you know,
It was a proposal that was made up with the city's engineer and others engineers and whatever, but ultimately, you guys decided you wanted to go another way, and you struck a bargain, and was you all agreed to, was that done?
That was done.
All right.
You know,
And y'all's engineer decided and determined that whatever that work was what was necessary at the time?
At the time.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is that it sounds like the condition or situation is continuing because of some other reason or some reason that's not that reason. And so we maybe need to look back to Thornton if he's doing something now that's different or somebody else.
Well, I think we could all agree to that. I think there's think
Oh,
that
I
we
don't
can-
know, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
don't know.
there's photographic evidence of siltation running into the lake right now, and, the mayor's photos right there show that, 2 years ago, at a time frame after the silt was removed to now, there's considerably more silt in the lake.
And I'd say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't ever recall asking the city just to step aside and stay out of it. In fact, we've repeatedly asked for measures, sent photos, sent videos, sent evidence of, I guess, what we thought might be problems with the new developments and all of the siltation coming in. So I don't ever remember asking anybody in the city to step back and not help us with that, because we've contacted city members, we've contacted DEQ, we've contacted
about
everybody
then or
that we
now?
can. Pardon?
You talking about then or now?
I'm talking about in the last several years, consistently.
Oh, no. We were, the city, the mayor and Matthew and I and Matt Dodd and Charles Smith, he's here. We were in many conversations.
Sure.
Working to get this done. Had agreements worked out, drafted to be done. And then ultimately, that's not what y'all wanted to do. And that's fine. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying, no, we were very involved to the point that at that point, Ronnie had decided he was going to sell to Terry, and that was the linchpin that was going to hold this deal together for y'all, and y'all decided to go do business with Terry, which is fine. You had an engineer, they had an engineer, you struck a bargain, and it was done. But I'm saying to say that the city was very involved in that. In fact, we were ready to have it all handled through the city from the standpoint of the inspections and the whole 9 yards, even though it's not our lake, with the agreement of the parties, and you asked us not to. And I've got the file. I mean, we can go over all that if you want to.
You've got us in contact with Terry. The proposal that Terry created for us after he was put in contact with us by the city was to drain the upper lake. The first question that we had for Terry was, in the event that we have seawall failures, whose responsibility is that?
And he
His
said it wasn't going to be
response
him.
was the homeowners association. Well, where do you go from there? At that point, we have to start coming up with other options, just because we can't, take on the risk and liability of multiple.
No, I
seawalls.
understand that, but ultimately you did.
We did.
Ultimately,
We
whatever
went
options
and found
you
other
did.
options, and we went forward with those options. We spent $127,000 getting 53 dump truck loads of silt out of the lake, getting them hauled off. We got a good portion of the islands that we had dispersed to the deeper parts of the lake, and then essentially as soon as that all happened, new construction began, and we start right back with new silt coming in. So yeah, we finished out the removal and dispersing, and then we just continued right into a new project.
Did y'all, I don't remember, didn't Terry put up the money for that?
So the funding mechanism was created by the sale of the land from Ronnie to Terry.
Yeah, so the 127 or whatever came from that deal.
That's
That's how it got funded. Cornerstone HOA didn't pay that, that was paid from another source.
That was correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember now.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, and I don't know, I guess I would add, to not drag this out too much for y'all tonight, is that, Alderperson Womack, she mentioned, I guess, where do we go from here and how do we do this? I suppose the rules, the regulations, whatever kind of mitigating factors that we can have to use this, to help us slow down the tide of the silt coming into the lakes at this point is probably, I would think, the best effort to begin with. And again, I'm not an engineer here, I just see what's going on. And then, what's with that, what do we do afterwards? After the projects are completed, then we still have all that collection of silt. I mean, we don't typically try to sue everybody. We want to be good partners in everything that we do and good citizens as well. But we do need to try to protect our efforts and protect our home values and property values as well.
I mean, the silt either has to stay there, we have to pay to have it removed, or the developer has to pay to have it removed. But it's one of those are your three options, you know, which one of those options.
All right, guys,
There you go.
let me inject a little bit here. We got about 4 minutes left. So, board, now you're all on the same thinking page. You've been exposed to the same information. What Mr. Baker was talking about and them about choosing to drain a lake versus remove it without taking the water out was a choice they want to make, and that's fine. It was kind of either A or B. It's the only way you're going to get it out. They chose what they believe to be the least invasive thing that would not hurt the shorelines. Great. Okay, so they got past that. Other thing is, I bet we met in here 3 or 4 times to finally arrive at that point. I've got some more information I want to share with you, more thoughts on this, and we get into executive session. I'll be glad to share that with you. But guys, they know where we are real time now, so they're all on the same page, the decision makers.
Yep, I appreciate it.
And they'll help us arrive at a point we need to be at.
Thank y'all for your time. Any help would be appreciated. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. All right. Board, you got anything else? Did that make sense, board members, about pad elevation and slab elevation? I think that's something, no, it didn't make sense, Lou, or it did? Yeah. Yeah. Huh? Okay, so yeah, we got a young man that's going to work on that for us. All right, so it's 5:55. We'll take a break, and we'll start at 6 sharp for the board meeting. Thank you.
Good, how are you? It is. I'm Lainey Phillips. I'm going to say the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is standing, one nation, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, I'm good. How are you? I'm Sarah J-Rowe. I'm going to say the prayer. Okay, can y'all bow your heads, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we welcome you into this space tonight. We give you the blessings of health, prosperity, and wellness of our families, friends, and the community that we serve. We humbly ask for your blessings upon this gathering tonight. We ask for your will and guidance in our discussions and the decisions that we make tonight. Please continue to allow our words and thoughts to be yours, and we will give you the praise and the glory. Amen.
Glad you're here. I got something I want to read to you, okay? I'm going to read this to you, okay? You ready? All right. Whereas Down syndrome is the most commonly occurring chromosomal condition, and approximately 1 in every 700 babies are born with Down syndrome, representing an estimated 6,000 births per year in the United States. That's right, you all around. Whereas Down syndrome occurs in people of all races and economic levels, there are approximately 400,000 individuals living with Down syndrome in the United States. Look at that. Can you read that? Quality educational programs stimulating home environments, good health, and positive support from family, friends, and the community enable people with Down syndrome to lead fulfilling and productive lives. That's right for you. Whereas World Down Syndrome Day has been observed on March 21st since 2012. March 21st was selected to signify the uniqueness of the triplication of the 21st chromosome which causes Down syndrome. That's right. Whereas the city of Brandon values our citizens with Down syndrome and their families. And you. At this time, we take an opportunity to highlight the unique abilities, strengths, and needs of our community members with Down syndrome. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Bush Lee, Mayor of the City of Brandon, do hereby proclaim March 21st is World Down Syndrome Day in the city of Brandon, Mississippi, and encourage the citizens of Brandon, all citizens, to work together for the promote, respect, and inclusive of individuals with Down syndrome and to celebrate their accomplishments and contributions. Congratulations. Appreciate it.
Oh, goodness. Oh.
You can turn around here. I'll tell you, anybody wants to talk. Would you like to say a few words?
Go with Miss Rochelle. You want to say hi? You can say hey.
Hey!
There we go. Good job.
You going to stand here with me?
Okay.
Goodness, I hadn't prepared to say anything, but, and I'm going to try to say it probably without choking back some tears. This means so much. Our kids We treat them as individuals. As you can see, that one's quite rambunctious, so all boy for sure. For you to recognize them as people and as individuals and having qualities as you and I do, recognizing that while we're all different, we all have something to contribute. So I hope this is a start of things for the city of Brandon, and I would like to see more of our businesses and the people in our community being more open to inclusion of these individuals, because it's so important for them to feel loved and respected and included. So anyhow, I appreciate it. Is there anybody else that would like to say anything? These are all our friends. We're from mostly the Jackson metro area, but anyhow, there was probably more that, many more that would come, but it was kind of last minute, and I'm kind of glad that we all came. I just want y'all to know we're a very passionate community, and we're in your lives, and we may not be seen very often, but they're important to be noticed. So thank you. Are you ready? Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. He asked for hamburger and french fries.
Whoa! So close.
I know, so close.
Wow!
By the way, before you get out of here, we're going to light up City Hall tomorrow night. Hey, Lee, we're going to be lighting up City Hall tomorrow night with blue, and welcome to come by and take a look, take a picture in City Hall lobby. All right? No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, and Miss Donna Yao did show up. She's hiding over there on the other side of the room there, Georgiana.
I would love to say a few words if I can do that. My voice is a little wobbly right now. Sinus issues, all those beautiful trees out there and flowers. I'm Donna Yao with the Mississippi Urban Forest Council, and we recognize one city per year as our Scenic Community of the Year. And this is not just about beautification, but he does an excellent, well, all of you did an excellent job at beautification, but it's developing policy on urban forestry, on taking care of watersheds, on reducing flooding problems, on using nature and our God-given green space to benefit our city, and Brandon does an excellent job at that. Matter of fact, Brandon does an exceptional job, way over a lot of the cities that we work with, and I think that's due to all of you elected officials and leadership.
Thank you very much. You wonder where we get bags and bags and bags of bulbs. This is where they come from, and I wait to the end of the midwinter conference, and when other cities don't pick them up, she says, take those 10, and I throw them in a truck, and away we go. So I keep looking for police officers to plant those.
And it's not just a few, it's a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
And we're going to be getting a list of trees together too. I understand there's a...
Oh, an arboretum.
Yes, I'm working on that right now.
Awesome.
One moment, folks. There was one other gentleman I wanted to recognize here. I don't know if he made it or not, but I'm going to mention him tonight. Michael Walker. Anybody out in the hallway? Board? There was a gentleman that, I'm not going to say he came to our rescue. He's just doing his job, but he's the next state contact for AT&T. And Mr. Baker and I have interacted with him on East Metro quite a bit lately. And he has been extremely responsive. Every time I hit him with a text, he comes right back, and we resolve the issues of fiber on Cross Gates Boulevard and accelerated that project. So I just want to send a shout out to him and say thank you to Michael Walker with AT&T. I tried to get him here last time, and I'll try again so he can stand here and greet you as well. Is there anyone else this evening that would like to? Yes, sir. Parade man.
Good evening. You think this is about the parade? Hey, I'm Lance. Brandon 042 Events wanted to thank everybody who contributed to a really, really successful first inaugural St. Patty's Kid Parade. If you hadn't gotten any calls from the businessmen afterwards, businessmen and women, they got crushed in a good way after this. It was filled with bike people, which was all part of the secondary strategy, with the first strategy being have a bunch of kids down there with their parents, have some good, wholesome fun. There were lots of private citizen volunteers. This was all run by volunteers and with the help of some private sponsorships of our corporate and small business neighbors, which we appreciate. But I'm here to thank specifically the folks in this room and those who supervisors may be in the room. Chief Dearman, Assistant Chief Pack, Sergeant Conley, fantastic, incredible help. Chief Roberts and your staff, by the way, your girl Carolyn pulled off one right at the last second that helped us out great. Kids love playing on the fire truck. It was great. By the way, the gift that you put in the goodie bag was hilariously appropriate. It was a fire safety coloring book that just, it made me laugh. It was good. Carly Keys fought for this project when others doubted us. She may have doubted us a little later at the end, but we pulled her through, and she pulled us through, and we really do appreciate that. Having city people who work toward a yes instead of work toward a no is very important when you're trying to do these types of civic activities. Jennifer made a great contribution from the P&R group to the goodie bag, which we appreciate. Almost all the aldermen showed up. Ferris, Middleton, Womack, shame on you too, Williams, Vinson, no, you're in your yard, buddy, you forgot us, and Jared Crane. Hey, thanks for all of y'all coming out there. It led to a lot of really positive PR. 2 TV stations, 2 or 3 different written publications wrote about it. And we also got to promote a lot of businesses here in Brandon, and including our main sponsor, who is our newest business neighbor, Planet Fitness. They were our chief sponsor, and they did a lot of stuff other than just write a check. And it's really cool to have folks come in our community right off the bat saying, I want to be a part of y'all. We only had 6 weeks really to put this together, and some didn't think that was enough time. Maybe next year when we do this thing and we've got a little bit more time, we can coordinate even better with the city to promote the event and make it something even more special. But hey, thanks to everybody I mentioned and to those who contributed who I didn't mention. I'm sure there's a long list of people I forgot. They'll text me, I'm sure. Thanks a lot.
Start planning now for next year. Don't wait till next year. All right. Thank you, Lance. Anyone else like to make public comment tonight?
I was asked not to speak.
And who asked you that?
I was about to say, I don't know who did, but we think. But I did get more steps in Saturday than Lou did.
You sure?
I think.
All right. Having seen no further, we'll move on through the agenda then. Thank you for those comments. I need a motion to approve the work session and regular board meeting minutes of March 6, 2023. Motion by Ms. Sharon Womack.
Second.
Second by Mr. Jared Crane. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you. Under the mayor, Consideration to approve the professional service agreement with Sims, Spengler, and Trussell to engage in an employment search for the position of Public Works Director and authorize the mayor to execute all related documents. Yes, this is Charles Smith's last night, and we will accept his resignation here shortly. What are you smiling about? I can see you smiling from up here, Charles. Item 2, consideration to accept a quote from Hotel and Restaurant Supply as the lowest and best quote received in the amount of $12,287 regarding the purchase of chairs and tables for the Brandon Amphitheater and authorize payment of the same. Item 3, consideration to accept the proposal from Ambiance Landscaping for landscaping service for a north and south corporate box area in the amount of $6,929 as the best and lowest quote and authorize the mayor to execute the same. Board, while we're on that, before we escape it, I believe I did the math on what those boxes cost, and it's less than $40,000 to build those 2 boxes. And we've rented those spaces for $150 this year, so I think we're heading in the right direction. Number 4, consideration to accept the quote from H&E Equipment Services for 2 Wanco LED light towers at $28,576 as the best and lowest quote, and authorize the mayor to execute same. That money will come out of the amphitheater operational account. My failure on my part, nobody else to blame but me. We should have been buying 1 or 2 of these every year that thing's been, so we stopped renting so many. So that's where that funding will come from that. Consideration to accept the resignation of Mr. Charles Smith, Public Works Director, effective March 24th, 2023, after he gets done with the board meeting tonight. Revise the Civic Center lighting project contract to include the following language. Owner and contractor acknowledge unprecedented lead times and supply chain issues. Reasonable accommodations will be made to amend to the schedule in the event that there are delays outside the contractor's control pending the contractor provides sufficient documentation and materials were ordered in the timeliest manner possible. Elcon got that bid. It's a lighting project to convert all those lights in the big room to LEDs from fluorescent, and that will coincide with our AV improvements that we're making in that room as well. All right. Is there a motion to approve or any questions on those 6 items?
Yeah.
Motion.
I got a question. Is this the same group on number 1 that helped with Sam?
Yes, it is. Primary contact is Billy Sims. We have a preliminary meeting Thursday morning, and we'll begin work on that. Second, Mr. David Ferris. Any further questions, comments? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you, board. Miss Angela.
May I take all of these items together?
Yes, ma'am, please.
The first item is consideration to approve an amphitheater sponsorship agreement with C Spire and Visit Mississippi for the 2023 concert season and authorize the mayor to execute the same. Number 2, consideration to approve a professional services agreement for the purpose of promoting tourism in accordance with House Bill 1629. Authorize the mayor to execute the same and approve and authorize all related show expenditures for Wood Band LLC for a performance on April 8, 2023. Number 3, consideration to approve an agreement with Paylocity for payroll and HR services and authorize the mayor to execute all related documents. Number 4, consideration to approve an extension of the professional services agreement for cleaning services by Jana King of Jackson at the Brandon Amphitheater pursuant to the memo and authorize the mayor to execute the same. Number 5, consideration to approve the purchase of Microsoft licenses from SHI as a state contract vendor in the amount of $43,667.22 and authorize payment of the same. And consideration to approve the docket of claims for March 20 and the Fox Everett claims released on March 9.
Thank you, Miss Angela. And also, board, want to notify you that Amy Smith has also now been certified as a municipal.
I was going to do that at the next board meeting. Cat's out of the
I'm
bag.
going to bring her in here and pat her on the back.
was.
So now we have 2. So if you have some axe to grind with Miss Bean. Mr. Baker has a question for you. See there, you couldn't escape.
I don't see the Paylocity agreement in the attachments. but I want to make sure, we went through.
It is in there along with the quote and also their certificate of insurance.
Okay, perfect. And then, are the addendums to both sponsor agreements in here? Because I saw one. Okay, thank you.
Doing a great job. Is there a motion to approve those 6 items? Motion by Ms. Sharon Womack,
Second.
second by Mr. Jerry Crane. Okay, go ahead.
It's just a FYI question. Number 4, Janet King. Is this the same group that we had to get rid of at the park because they wasn't doing their job?
Well, let me speak to that. And
Well,
maybe, Jen,
I'm just asking Jennifer.
okay, well, come up to the mic.
No, I think that's the same group that we had to get rid of. Okay, that's fine.
Well, we need a little explanation though, if you will. I mean, for the audience. So yes, they weren't able to find sufficient help to handle the ball
quarry.
fields as well as the amphitheater. They're having trouble finding people to work just like everything else. I want to say that this weekend we had 3 MagCorps guys that we're using with the work release program that were at Quarry Park. It came off well. I was out there Saturday and Sunday, and I think they did an outstanding job. So It's going to be my recommendation. I was speaking to Jennifer earlier about that we get 3 more. We have 6 right now that are dedicated to us, 3 for Shiloh, and there's the direction we're going to go, and 3 on weekends in tournaments, primarily. The weekdays we have covered, and for rec ball. Jennifer, is that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Do you want me to speak to the Janet
Yeah,
King?
go ahead.
So Janet King, in dealing with Wayne, we let it go for about a month and a half of not having sufficient help. And so in the end of that, we had to say, we can't continue our agreement with the quarry. They still clean Shiloh, but the quarry was where we were having the most problems. So we decided not to continue that month, and we cleaned it ourselves now.
Okay. Especially on tournaments. Go ahead.
They have in the past, yes, sir.
And if they don't, they won't be there. All right. Thank you for that, Harry. Appreciate it. Reminding everybody on the board. So we got a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments, 1 through 6? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Keys.
Good evening. I have 2 items. Can I take them together, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Number 1, consideration to approve the outdoor facility rental agreement and establish a rental rate schedule for quarry trails, quarry parking lot, amphitheater trails, and amphitheater parking lot. Number 2, consideration to approve the print and social media marketing plan for the 2023 Brandon Jubilee at the terms and schedule listed and authorize the mayor to execute the same.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
I noticed, okay, say if somebody rents quarry trails, but they're using the parking lot for their vehicles.
I'm not charging them for that.
Okay.
I'm charging them if they're going to do a car show in that parking lot and they're going to run the trails, that would be where I charge both.
So anybody that has, at this point in time, maybe has a contractor, are they going to be charged now? Are they going to be grandfathered in or what?
Well, fortunately, we haven't had anything that's happened so far. We were wanting to put this in place before we had some events come about.
All right. Any further questions? Motion to approve by Chris Benson, second by Ms. Sharon Womack. No further questions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Thank you, Ms. Carley.
Good evening,
Mr.
Mayor,
Smith.
Board.
Why don't we turn the page? Let's just do 1 through 4, and we'll get on to the next page.
I have a recommendation. We just take them one at a time.
I'm sensitive to what board members want to do, Charles. Mr. Charles?
I'm just kidding. Do whatever.
I kind of like it myself.
That would be, I tell you what, let's do that tonight. Your last time, let's take them one
Just
at a time.
one at a time.
Mr. Baker says he loves you.
I'm at the board's mercy, whatever y'all'd like.
You still got his last check. Just always remember that. All right. 1 through 4.
1 through 4.
Then we'll turn the page.
All right. Item 1 is consideration to approve the M&R Protective Systems Incorporated quote in the amount of $12,813 as the lowest and best quote received for the purchase and installation of 6 Maglock door locks at the city shop and authorize payment of the same. Item 2 is consideration to approve the quote from Murphy's Lawn and Landscape in the amount of $5,965.28 as the lowest and best quote received for landscape services and supplies at City Hall and authorize payment of the same. Item 3 is consideration to approve Hempfield Construction Pay Request Number 5 in the amount of $42,705.75 with regard to the Highway 80 signal improvements at Eastgate Drive and Municipal Drive and authorize payment of the same. Item 4 is consideration to approve Hempfield Construction Pay Request Number 9 in the amount of $77,108.08 with regard to the College Street Water Line Project and authorize payment of the same.
Thank you, Charles. Are they going to be able to finish the striping this week?
They are scheduled to do it this week. The weather does look favorable, so I'll check in with Superior again tomorrow.
So, Board, that will be the last thing that contract will require in the downtown area is the final striping, and it'll be done.
Now, Hempfield still has sod and landscaping to do.
And some yards?
Yeah, but they're
Okay.
very close.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve those 4 items? Motion by Mr. Harry Williams, second by Mr. Chris Benson. Any further comment or question? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you, Board. All right, continue.
Mayor, do you want me to take 5 through 11?
Yes, sir.
Item 5 is consideration to approve the repairs made by Gould Enterprises in accordance with the approved professional fee schedule in the amount of $8,943.41 and authorize payment of the same. Item 6 is consideration to approve a professional services agreement with Ambiance Landscape in accordance with the memo and authorize the mayor to execute the same. Item 7 is consideration to approve an agreement with Ambiance Landscape to provide landscape maintenance services at the Brandon Amphitheater effective March 21st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024, and authorize the mayor to execute the same. Item 8 is consideration to approve pay request number 1 in the amount of $81,530.59 from Ambiance Landscape LLC for the Pecan Ridge Subdivision Entrance Rehab Project and authorize payment of the same. Item 9 is consideration to approve pay request 1 in the amount of $456,915.67 from Thornton Construction Company for the Grants Ferry Parkway Sewer Line Extension Project and authorize payment of the same. Item 10 is consideration to approve a water tank maintenance agreement from Southern Corrosion as the lowest and best proposal received and authorize the mayor to execute all related documents. Item 11 is consideration to hire Braylon Tillis as a seasonal employee and set rate of pay in accordance with the memo effective March 21st, 2023.
Thank you, Charles. Mr. Baker has a question for number, is it 7?
Yeah, on Ambiance, yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ambiance landscape maintenance agreement, it looks like he's bringing materials to the project and can't do that as a professional services agreement.
Is
So,
that the pine straw?
Yeah.
That should be the only
There's one about
thing.
mulching and there's one about pine straw.
It is pine straw is the mulching.
Okay.
We can buy that pine straw material separate. That's
we-
on a per item basis, and all of those are broken down that way.
Okay, can we hold this one off until the next meeting so we can get this cleaned up?
Sure.
All right, make note of that, please, Miss Angela. So we're removing number 7, excuse me. All right. So, Board, is there a motion to approve 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11? Motion by Ms. Sharon Womack. Who said that down here? Second, Mr. David Ferris. Any further question? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
What is the timing for the gas company to finish Woodgate? I mean, if you know, you may not know.
I don't know. I can ask and find out. They do appear to be moving quickly. They have a lot of resources in that area. But I will try to get you a project end date.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Ford, I wanted to say it's been a pleasure working for you. I'm sincerely mean that, and I will miss you. And I do appreciate the opportunity to serve as the Public Works Director. Thank you.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor. Board. Got 4 items. Request permission to take them all one time.
Yes, sir.
Request permission for Lieutenant French and K-9 Hassan to travel to Madison to attend problem-solving training for patrol dogs, April 17 through 21, 2023. Request permission for Lieutenant French to apply for a Mose grant for 2 LPR systems. Request permission to purchase 8 point-blank tactical vest SRV front and back plates and Omega plates from the Southern Connection, a sole source provider, in the amount of $17,496.16. Authorize payment of the same from the drug seizure fund and amend the budget accordingly. Accept the letter of retirement from Assistant Chief Chris Butts, effective March 31st, 2023, and remove 1 Glock firearm bearing serial number BLDR 402 from city inventory. Authorize the purchase in accordance with MCA 459131 and authorize retirement credentials and retirement badge in accordance with MCA 45171.
Thank you, Chief. Is there a motion to approve those 4 items? Motion by Mr. Harry Williams, second by Mr. Luke Coker. Any questions on those? I'd like to call Chief Butts down. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign.
He has served under 9 chiefs. 8, you're number 8. I'm number 8. 8 chiefs and 5 mayors. Well, maybe 9 after tonight. But this is a package from all your uniforms. Yeah. Except that off of your shirt. That's very old. Proud thing. And the department that signed the contract.
I just want to say just a few things. I don't have
You
a
can
speech.
say more than a few.
I don't have a speech. I started here and this is kind of to the younger guys back there. I started here when I was 21 years old. I just turned 51 in February. And I want to say, like Charles did, thank you for you guys' support. It's been an honor and a pleasure. The only thing I ever wanted to do was be a Brandon police officer. That's all that I ever wanted to do. When I started working here, we had 0 turnover. I had to sit in the radio room for 3 years because there wasn't a spot to be a police officer. There wasn't a time for me to go to the police academy because there just weren't any openings. But I finally got my shot under retired State Trooper Eugene Adcock. He sent me to the police academy. And as soon as I got out of the academy, we started having a little turnover here, a little turnover there, and it just kept going on, but I told myself I'm never leaving this place. It's too good. The city of Brandon is where that I needed to stay. It's where I needed to be. I've heard over the years snide little remarks about Brandon Police Department, about the cars that may look like this, or about certain officers that do this, that, and the other. But I want to tell every single person in this room, in the last 5 years, the city of Brandon has been in the top 5 of the second safest cities, or top 5 of the safest cities in this whole state of Mississippi. That ain't because of anything I did or the chief did. It's because you guys back there, Langston, LL. So y'all don't forget that. Forget what negative things they saw that sell this crap on Facebook and all that other junk, which I can say anything I want now. I ain't really worried about hurting anybody's feelings.
Hoorah.
But just like I said, remember.
Preach on, Chief.
I'm just saying, just remember where this city sits in the safety. Look, I'm not trying to bash a certain city here, there, and the other, but we ain't too far from Jackson, the murder capital of the country. And look at us. So y'all don't forget that. Okay? And if y'all got some spare money to get these guys raises, do it every freaking year. And I'm sorry, too. A 1% raise is great, but it really doesn't help these guys with kids and wives. Make it worth their while. They're out here dodging bullets for everybody. So one thing that I'll always do is I'll always respect these guys back here in the back, because they're your backbone for the police department. Not me, not Chief Pack, not Chief Dearman. But anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Thank y'all. It's been a good ride. It's been a really good ride. But I guess sometimes all good things must come to an end.
That's a heck of an unprepared speech, Chief. And you think you're going to follow that, right?
That's going to be a tough one to follow, sir. Mm-hmm. You can take all three together, sir.
Yes, sir.
Item number 1, consideration to approve the memorandum of understanding between Brandon Fire Department and Rankin County for the use of the Marquette Road Training Facility and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the same. Item number 2 is request permission to purchase 6 air packs. That's our SCBA bottles we wear with us. 6 face pieces and 12 4,500 PSI 45-minute carbon cylinders from EEP, a state contract vendor, in the amount of $56,558.70, and amend the budget accordingly. Agenda item number 3 is consideration to remove part-time firefighter from the roster in accordance with the memo.
Thank you, Chief. Is there a motion to approve those 3 items? Motion by Ms. Sharon Womack. Second, Mr. Jared Crane. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you, Chief. Board would like to entertain a motion to go into to determine the necessity of being in executive session. Motion by Mr. Lou Coker. Second by Mr. Harry Williams. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Audience, if you will, the board's going to stay in here, and we're going to ask you to leave. There's some chairs in the big room. We'll probably be in executive session, I'm thinking, for quite a while. You're more than happy to stay on the other side and come back in here. We'll announce when we come out of executive session, but we have several topics to talk about in here this evening. One of which, I'm wondering why Mr. Lee Yancey's in the back of the room. Mr. Yancey, thank you. Oh, God, huh? Yeah, she didn't like that.
You should say that they have the prettiest board members. What you should say is pretty.
Somebody was out
If you would, just stay right there in the, out in the hall, they're out of executive session. Thank you. All right.
Mr. Mayor, there were no votes taken in executive session.
All right. Board, thank you for your patience tonight. We'll adjourn. Need a motion to adjourn until our next board meeting. Motion by Mr. Lou Coker. Second, Mr. Jerry Crane. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you.